Shana Tova. I hope this finds you and your loved ones healthy and safe. Normally this room would be full, hundreds of people, singing and praying and embracing for hours. This year, of course, it's different. But I want you to know this community and its leadership is working so hard to make these high holidays connective, inspirational, and safe. And so I hope that this video is helpful for you. I hope it's a small piece of what we're offering for you that you can connect to these high holidays. And I can't wait to celebrate together, all of us, B'mheira b'yameinu, very soon. I want to invite you, wherever you are, in your home, to get comfortable. Get comfortable in your chair, sit down. And I want to invite you to take a deep breath. Let's do it together. It's good for you. Did you know that? Scientifically, medically, a deep breath is very good for you. Doctors say that a deep breath releases endorphins, the chemicals that make you feel good in your brain. They say that a deep breath cleanses the lymphatic system, the way that our body takes toxins from our blood. Doctors say that a deep breath increases our energy and our stamina, and it lowers our blood pressure, and it improves our digestion. It even helps with our posture. Let's take one more together. You know, breath is so unique. It's something that can be completely unconscious. We don't have to think about it at all. We breathe in our sleep. We breathe all the time. And also, it can be hyperconscious. Breath has really been on my mind over the last few months. This past spring, I couldn't stop thinking about breath. As the virus hit friends in New York, and then crept here, and then we had to close down shul, and then my son's school was closed, and everything was happening so fast, I couldn't catch my breath. I felt like I was breathing hard all the time. I actually thought maybe I had coronavirus. I was short of breath. I started checking my temperature multiple times a day. I got tested. I got antibody tested. I paid $200. I didn't have COVID. I was just incredibly anxious. The stress, the uncertainty, the fear had caused me to be short of breath. And I know that I wasn't alone. Trouble breathing, I think, has been a near global phenomena that the whole world has experienced over the last few months. It's moved just beyond a symptom of COVID to something that encapsulates our almost entire reality. We've been surrounded by images of breathlessness, whether it's the image of ventilators being full, or George Floyd crying out, "I can't breathe," or the hyperventilating of our media and our news, or tear gas on our streets, the face mask that we wear, which of course is safe and critical and a great mitzvah. And yet, as soon as I get home, I can't wait to take it off so I can breathe fully free. It's a lot. It's been a lot for me, and I bet it's been a lot for you too. This shortness of breath alongside the physical shortness of breath, I think also presents a spiritual danger. Shortness of breath is a spiritual symptom as well. When Moshe came to tell the Jewish people of God's plan to free them from Egypt, the Torah tells us, "Lo sham'u el Moshe mikotzer ruach." The Jewish people couldn't hear Moshe's words. They couldn't hear his message of redemption, of freedom, because they were short of breath. It blocked them from hearing that critical message. In a world that's taking our breath away, Rosh Hashana is a holiday designed to help us get our breath back. I want to say that reclaiming the breath is a key essential aspect of what Rosh Hashana is all about. You know, many of us think Rosh Hashana, we celebrate the birthday of the world. It's not true. Listen to this midrash. Tani b'shem Rabbi Eliezer, b'esrim v'chamisha be'elul nivra ha'olam. The midrash says that the world was created on the 25th of Elul. So if the world was created on the 25th of Elul, what happened on the 1st of Tishrei? Well, let's do the math. Elul has 29 days. So let's count it out. 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 1st of Tishrei. What does this tell us? Rosh Hashanah falls out on the 6th day of creation. And what happened on the 6th day of creation? Vayitzar Hashem Elokim et ha'adam, afar min ha'adama, vayipach be'apav nishmat chayim, vayihi adam lenefesh chaya. The Torah tells us that on the 6th day, God formed man from the dust of the earth. God blew into the nostrils of this human being the breath of life, and humanity became alive. So today, Rosh Hashanah, the 1st of Tishrei, is not the birthday of the world. It's the birthday of humankind. And not only that, Rosh Hashanah is the birthday of breath. In Judaism, breath is so essential. God gives us life through breathing into us. Breath is where our bodies and our soul meet. The word neshama, soul, has the same root as the word neshima, breath. And there's an unbelievable image in the Zohar where it says that inside us we have 2 wings. Those are our lungs. And those wings wrap and protect the heart. And when we breathe, when we take in a deep breath, the wings expand and they allow our heart to fly. Some have even suggested that the ineffable name of God, Yud-He, Vav-He, a name without consonants, may actually just be the sound of breath, the divine breath. So it makes sense that on this day, the birthday of breath, Rosh Hashanah, we celebrate it with a mitzvah that's deeply rooted in breath, the shofar. The shofar is the sound of breath, 30 breaths, 40 breaths, 60 breaths, 100 breaths. The shofar is the sound of a person breathing again and again. The strong, controlled breaths of the Tekiyah, the broken, sobbing breaths of the Shvarim, the quick, shallow breaths of the Truah, the last, final breath of the Tekiyah Gdolah. Like a human being, a shofar is mute until air flows through it, until it breathes. And then once air flows through it, that simple object can make the most profound sounds. And each shofar, like each human being, when instilled with breath, has its own unique voice. The Sfat Emet, the great Hasidic commentator, explains the mitzvah of shofar as follows. He says, mitzvah shofar hi akol hapnimi shenimsa b'nefashot b'nei Yisrael. The shofar is the voice, the inner voice of the souls that are embedded inside each and every one of us. In the words of my Rebbe, Avi Weiss, the sound of the shofar comes from the inner breath and is a reversal of the breath that God breathed into Adam. V'ipach be'apav nishmat chayim. And God breathed into his nose the breath of life. The shofar releases the breath of God that was breathed into all of us. The mitzvah of shofar is taking the greatest gift we receive from God, the breath of life, and breathing it back, in and out. The shofar, one of our most simple mitzvot, and at the same time profound beyond words. So this Rosh Hashanah, and this year, I want to encourage you to take the message of the shofar and do what might be the most holy, spiritual, divine act we can do. I want to encourage you to breathe. Breathe for yourself. Breathe for your health. Breathe for your neshama, for your soul. Breathe deeply for your family, for your loved ones. Breathe for those you worry about. Think of them when you breathe. Breathe for those who can breathe no more. Breathe for God, and let God breathe through you. Try this year, whenever you can, to feel the preciousness and the holiness of each and every breath. Pay attention to when you breathe. Consciously try to breathe more deeply. When you find yourself with a moment, nothing to do, stop and just listen to your breath. Set aside time during davening or different moments in the day to pause and be aware of the holy breath coming in and out. When you're afraid, when you're anxious, breathe more slowly. Breathe deeply. It will help you. I want to share something that happened a few months ago in our community. Many of you knew our beloved member, Paul Heuberger. Paul was the shul breakfast maker, men's club, consummate mensch, survivor of the Holocaust. Earlier this year, Paul moved with his beloved Vera to the self-help home. And once he moved in, his illness accelerated, and it became clear he was dying. With COVID restrictions, they weren't allowed to receive visitors, and I wasn't able to go see Paul in person. But thanks to technology, and thank God for Zoom and FaceTime in this pandemic, I was able to be connected. And I remember, I'll never forget, the final day of Paul's life. Suzanne, his beloved daughter, FaceTimed me. She said, "I think it's time." And so, in the room, Suzanne and Vera, on the FaceTime, me and Paul, we recited the Shema, we sang some songs, and then Suzanne placed the phone on Paul's chest. So I was in my house, looking up at the ceiling from the perspective of Paul's chest. And the camera on the phone was gently rising and falling with each breath, until it stopped. And Paul's neshama, his breath, ended, and his neshama left. There I was, sitting in my bedroom, tears in my eyes. I took a few deep breaths. And there they were, Vera, Suzanne, the medical team, everyone quiet, breathing. And then the caregivers lovingly came and respectfully and lovingly took care of him. And I stayed on for a long time, minutes, maybe an hour. And one of my children walked in, and he saw me sitting there, looking at a phone, silent, breathing, with a tear in my eye. And he asked what happened. I told him about Paul, and what Paul meant to the shul, what Paul meant to me. My son paused, silent, and we breathed together in silence. I keep thinking about that moment. I keep thinking about how Paul's neshama, his physical breath, is gone, but his neshama, his soul, lives on in Shemaim up above, but also in the breath that flows through each and every one of us. The breath that flowed from Adam and Eve, through Paul and Vera, through me and my children, to you. The breath that flows through the trees and all the animals and all life. The holy breath that has flowed from all those who passed away and will flow through all those who have yet to be born. Our breath soaring up to its source, this Rosh Hashana with the shofar. And the divine breath of the shofar gadol, the great shofar of redemption that is still yet to come. Soon we'll recite the Rosh Hashanah Musaf. And in the final section of Shofarot, we'll say the line, Kol anshama hallelujah, hallelujah, from Psalms, from Tehillim. Let every soul sing praise to God. Hallelujah. The Midrash says, don't read it as Kol haneshama, every soul, but rather, Al kol neshima uneshima she'adam no shame. With every breath that a human breathes, may it sing praise to God. So this year, may our breath and the breath of those we love be strong and deep and full. May the breath of those who've had their breath shortened by COVID, by oppression or injustice, may their breath be lengthened and fulfilled. May we know to return to our breath in times of struggle and uncertainty and fear. And may the breath of God that is deep beneath us, may the breath of God be a source of strength and light and hope for all of us. And may each and every one of our breaths be a hallelujah. Shana Tova.